Okay, wonderfuls. We're going to look at the distributive property. We're using radical terms. All right, so it looks kind of like this. You got a monomial, it means one term on the outside, and you distribute it through. So the rainbow method is just that you distribute that term to each one. Box method goes like this. I'm going to use the box method for all of my, examples. Here we go. So I'm going to take this value and multiply it by this value, and that's how I get the area of this box. Numbers must both be under the radical to be able to multiply them together. So 3 times 11 is 33. A negative times a positive is negative. If you have a number that is not under a radical and a number that is, you can't actually multiply them together. So you just write it as the product of those two things. So this is now going to look like radical 33 minus 8 radical 11. Now I have to check to see if I can pull out any perfect square factors or if I can combine these because I have a subtraction. So I have two terms that I might be able to combine. The factors of 33, are 3 and 11. Notice both of those numbers are prime. So there are no greatest common factors in 33. 11 is also prime. So I can't pull any factors out of there. This radicand and this radicand do not match. So I cannot combine them. So my final answer is just that. All right, let's try another one, shall we? Okay, so let's do it again. Let's do distribution using the box method. Notice there's a coefficient, and there's no coefficient here, which means it's a 1. So 5 times 1 is 5. 12 times 6 is 72, plus, now both of these numbers are not under radicals, so I can multiply them together. And then the radical 6, there is no radical part here, so I can't multiply that 6 times anything. All right, now I'm going to take this down here, and I'm going to try to simplify it as much as I can. This 72 is divisible by 2 because it's even. 36, ooh, that's a perfect square. So I'm going to break this up. That's my non-perfect square right there. Plus, factors of 6 are 2, 3, and 6, so that's not going to break down anymore. Square root of 36 is 6, so I'm going to write that as 6 right there times radical 2, and then I can't simplify this term at all still. So I'm still working, sorry. Let's slide that up so you can see it. That would be nice. Boom. Now, both of these numbers are not under the radical, so I can multiply them together. So my final answer is this. Notice again, this radicand and this radicand do not match, so I cannot combine those two terms. So that is my final answer. All right, let's do one with a binomial times a binomial. That means double distribution. All right, so let's take a look at this. So notice I set up my box method, and now I'm going to fill in the areas of the box. All right, so the area, because they're both under the radical, boom. Not under the radical is under the radical, so I can't multiply them together, but I just write it as the term. Not under a radical is under a radical. Again, just write it as a term because you can't actually physically multiply them together. No radical, no radical. Negative times a positive is negative, so that's what we have. So this is going to end up being 4 terms. So let's write those 4 terms. It's square root of 35 minus 3 square root of 5 plus 11 square root of 7 minus 33. This is prime, and this is prime. So I can't combine anything with those or pull out any perfect squares, and they're not matching, so I can't combine. This has factors of 5 and 7. 5 and 7 are also prime. So there are no factors here to pull out. So this actually is my final answer, but just make sure that if you can simplify those terms, do it. And if your radicands match, you can combine them, and you should. So my final answer is just going to be, oh, you should be able to see it if I move it up. That. That is beautiful. Okay. All right. Have a great day. Bye.